With so many movies coming out, it's easy to lose track. From new action blockbusters and thrilling sci-fi adventures to long-awaited sequels, we will show you which blockbusters will dominate the big screen in 2026 and 2027, and which ones should be on your personal watch list. Anyone who thought superhero movies were a thing of the past was clearly mistaken. The next DCU film to hit theaters is Supergirl. Millie Alcock, known from House of the Dragon, takes on the title role. Jason Momoa also joins as the intergalactic bounty hunter Lobo. The movie is based on the acclaimed comic book series Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King, which breaks with classic cliches and depicts a vulnerable human heroine. Supergirl will be released on June 26, 2026. Marvel is also going big. Spider-Man: Brand New Day is the next MCU film slated for release on July 31, 2026. Of course, Tom Holland returns as Peter Parker, joined by Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, Jon Bernthal as Punisher, Michael Mando as Scorpion, and Sadie Sink in a still unknown role. Rumors suggest the storyline will run parallel to Avengers: Doomsday. That film is set to hit theaters about 6 months later, on December 18, 2026. Alongside Chris Hemsworth as Thor and Tom Hiddleston as Loki, many original X-Men actors are set to appear, including Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. The Fantastic Four and the New Avengers, led by Yelena, will also play key roles. The villain Dr. Doom will be portrayed by none other than Robert Downey Jr. 1 year later, on December 17, 2027, the grand finale will arrive with Avengers: Secret Wars, once again directed by the Russo brothers, who previously helmed both Infinity War and Endgame. There's also something new for animation fans. Spider-Man: Beyond the Spider-Verse picks up right where Across the Spider-Verse left off. Miles Morales has to deal with the Spider Society, the Prowler, and Spot. In other words, we can expect several major confrontations as the animated film series comes to a close. After significant delays, the movie is now scheduled for release on June 25, 2027. Finally, the dark world of DC is also making a comeback. The Batman 2 is now expected to be released sometime in 2027. Robert Pattinson reprises the lead role, Colin Farrell returns as the Penguin, Jeffrey Wright is back as James Gordon, and Andy Serkis appears as Alfred. However, as things stand, there will be no reunion with Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Filming is expected to begin in early 2026. For those struggling to wait that long, another DC film titled Clayface will open in theaters on September 11, 2026, focusing on the Batman villain of the same name. Space: The Final Frontier. Project Hail Mary is the next film adaptation of a best-selling novel by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian. Hollywood star Ryan Gosling takes on the lead role as Ryland Grace, who wakes up aboard a spaceship with no memory, millions of miles away from Earth. The film is directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, known for 21 Jump Street and the acclaimed Spider-Verse movies. The first trailer already showcases the filmmaker's typical humor. The theatrical release is set for March 20th, 2026. But another adaptation of a sci-fi novel is likely to attract even more attention. Dune 3 is based on the novel Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert. This time, the story jumps 12 years into the future and follows Paul Atreides in his new role as a ruler. Rumor has it that Robert Pattinson will join the cast as the antagonist Scytale. Denis Villeneuve returns as director, likely for the last time in this epic saga. The movie will hit theaters on December 18, 2026. Of course, when it comes to space adventures, Star Wars cannot be left out. With The Mandalorian and Grogu, a movie from a galaxy far, far away will finally return to theaters on May 22, 2026. The plot picks up after Season 3 of the hit series and accompanies Din Djarin and Grogu on a new adventure. Sigourney Weaver, a true Hollywood icon, also joins the cast. The next installment follows a year later, Star Wars Starfighter from Deadpool and Wolverine director Shawn Levy. The story takes place 5 years after Episode 9, but is no longer part of the Skywalker saga. Instead, it introduces a standalone story with new characters. Ryan Gosling plays the lead role, alongside Matt Smith as the antagonist and Mia Goth. The movie is scheduled for release on May 28, 2027. For those who prefer darker and fantastical stories, there is plenty to look forward to in the coming years. For example, on April 17, 2026, the new reboot of The Mummy will hit theaters. This time, the story centers around a family with a daughter, with Jack Rayner playing the father. Evil Dead Rise director Lee Cronin aims to emphasize the horror aspect of the original even more. The Hunger Games series is also continuing. Sunrise on the Reaping tells the story of the 50th Hunger Games, during which twice as many tributes must compete against each other. Joseph Zeta plays the young Hamish Abernathy, while Ralph Fiennes takes on the role of President Snow. Maya Hawke, Elle Fanning, and Jesse Plemons are also part of the cast, and Francis Lawrence is back in the director's chair. The movie will be released on November 20th, 2025. Things get even more epic in 2027 with The Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum. Andy Serkis not only reprises his role as Gollum, he's also directing the film. The plot runs parallel to The Fellowship of the Ring, with both Ian McKellen and Elijah Wood returning as Gandalf and Frodo. The Hunt for Gollum will be released in cinemas on December 17th, 2027. If you would rather see a mythical epic set on our planet, no problem. Christopher Nolan is bringing the Odyssey to the big screen. Matt Damon stars as Odysseus, who embarks on his adventurous journey home after the fall of Troy. His son Telemachus is played by Tom Holland. The film features a star-studded cast, including Zendaya, Charlize Theron, Robert Pattinson, Anne Hathaway, and several other notable actors. The release date for this monumental adventure is July 17th, 2026. Monster fans won't be disappointed either. Godzilla x Kong Supernova brings the two titans back to the big screen on March 26th, 2027. This time, it looks like they will be facing off against the legendary Space Godzilla. The cast is already stacked with big names, such as Dan Stevens, Caitlin Dever, and Sam Neill. On June 5th, 2026, after nearly 40 years, a new live-action adaptation of Masters of the Universe will also hit theaters. According to reports, the reboot starts on Earth, but mostly takes place on Eternia, as usual. Nicholas Galitzine stars as He-Man, Camila Mendes embodies Teela, Alison Brie portrays Evil Lyn, and Jared Leto takes on the role of the main villain, Skeletor. Fast cars, sharp one-liners, and lots of explosions. 2026 and 2027 also have plenty to offer when it comes to classic action. One highlight is the grand finale of the Fast and Furious saga. Fast X Part 2 is slated for release in April 2027, with Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Dwayne Johnson, and many others returning. One particularly intriguing detail is that Paul Walker's character, Brian O'Connor, is also expected to appear, presumably through the use of body doubles and digital effects. And then there is one of the longest-serving action heroes of all time, James Bond. The 26th installment in the legendary spy franchise will be directed by acclaimed filmmaker Denis Villeneuve, with a screenplay by Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight. It is currently unclear who will play the new Bond, and no official release date has been announced. However, since filming is scheduled to begin in 2026, a theatrical release in 2027 seems quite likely. It's not just film and comic fans who have reason to be excited. Gamers will also get their share of highlights in the coming years. On April 3rd, 2026, the Super Mario Bros. Movie 2 will bring the beloved video game franchise back to the big screen. This time, rumors suggest the film will draw inspiration from Super Mario World, featuring Yoshi, who was already teased in the post-credits scene of the first movie. And that's not all. On May 7th, 2027, the long-awaited live-action adaptation of The Legend of Zelda will finally be released. Benjamin Evan Ainsworth plays Link, while Bo Braggason takes on the role of Princess Zelda. The plot is still under wraps, but expectations are sky-high for the iconic franchise's first big-screen adventure. As you can see, we can look forward to numerous new blockbusters in the coming years. Now we want to know from you, which movie are you most excited about? And did we miss any must-see highlights? Let us know in the comments. Until then, enjoy your time at the movies.